So I'm just going to kind of walk us through some of the things that you probably already know. We're going to cover an introduction to our organization, kind of who we are, what we do, why we do it. I'm going to share a little bit about the workshop series, which I am so jazzed about. And then we will go into the mission of the musical grant program, which is really so that you all understand and can orient yourselves as far as why are we making these grants and who are we looking to fund and why. It is all about mission alignment. Um, we will talk about the Common App for the Arts and how it integrates with our application. This is our third year of integration with the Common App, and it's a little tricky to navigate. So we'll just be here to hold your hand through that, and also share some of the benefits of using it. We will also, in that, be going through the digital workspaces that you'll need to navigate along the way and introduce you to our grant management platform, Award Force, where you will actually submit your application. Um, we'll also cover the eligibility requirements and we'll go over in more detail, but not complete detail, the project budgets and some terms to orient yourselves. Okay, just some housekeeping. For those of you on Zoom, you may have saw in the waiting room slides, we really appreciate if you can to please keep your video on. You can, we will be registering today on Award Force, so just be prepared for that. For those of you in the room, we have set up a computer if you don't have one, so that you can actually go through that process here and just log on as a guest. And if you have questions, please leave them in the chat or hold them for periods between sections. We'll have an opportunity to answer them periodically throughout the presentation, and then and at the end we'll have an extensive Q&A. Okay, so I just want to talk about who we are. We were founded in 1998 as San Francisco Friends of Chamber Music. We were founded as a fiscal sponsor. For those of you who are not familiar with fiscal sponsorship, it is a relationship with a 501c3, us, for individuals or entities without that kind of status to receive tax deductible donations, donations that they wouldn't necessarily be eligible to receive without fiscal sponsorship. In that program, we kind of guide people through a lot of different elements of running your musical enterprise, things like setting up your chart of accounts or how to file for this or that, how to actually use and properly account for restricted funds that you maybe have received. So that is how we were funded. We have over 100 fiscally sponsored projects. We have a lot of fiscally sponsored projects in the people in the room and on Zoom. So welcome. And in addition to that, 10 years after we were founded, this program was established. It was established the same year that our flagship music festival was also founded, SF Music Day. So that's kind of a lay of the land of our programs. Our mission is dedicated to sustaining and nourishing the Bay Area creative environment by offering programs like the ones that I just talked about and resources like money for music creators and audience members. Currently, we have 3 full-time staff members: Mark Clifford, our program director, Tyrone Opilis, our administrative associate, and myself, Crystal Pascucci-Clifford. And we have 6 extremely dedicated, amazing board members who are deeply committed to the musical grant program, our awardees, and all of our fiscally sponsored affiliates. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how our workshop series is structured this year. So each spring, we provide these kinds of workshops. They're professional development for individual musicians. That's how they're geared. A lot of times we have musicians giving the presentations. This year, the first three in a series of six are within the grant cycle for the musical grant program, and they are specific for grant writing and proposal preparation. So we have today as a technical assistance, but on February 25th, we will have Suki O'Kane from the Haas Foundation be talking specifically about budgets. How do you tie a budget to your narrative? How do you kind of show your story through your budget, which I can't even tell you is such a big part of looking at a an application. It's almost like the budget is up here, and a lot of times it comes down here as far as priorities. So I think this person, Suki, fantastic musician, wonderful active community member, and she will be presenting. After that, we will have David Blasevich from the Fleischacker Foundation present on narratives, how to write a proposal narrative, what are funders actually looking for, how do you incorporate kind of basic language, but with the key points that people are really reading kind of between the lines to see what your project is really about. Fleischacker is also a member of the Common Application, so in filling out the Common App, you would be able to apply 90% of those answers to any one of the proposals for the Small Arts Grant at Fleischacker. Okay, I'm all ready. Let's move on to, oh, sorry. And then following that, we have amazing uh, uh, presentations for engaging presenters presented by Pamela Fruden Striplin, and also how to write a PR press release by Lisa Mezzacappa. And we will be giving one final workshop on social media management and sustaining. So watch out for those. Okay. So the mission of the musical grant program is to promote the production and presentation of small ensemble music. I can't stress this enough. If your project involves a small ensemble, you are in the right place. Um, we we support live performances, expenses for professional recordings, new commissions, collaborations, and multidisciplinary work. It's designed to uplift local Bay Area musicians. If you are awarded an MGP, you should 100% be looking for grant funding elsewhere. Our support is geared toward holistically uplifting your work. So we are trying to kind of prop up and speak for in support of your project as well as giving the funds. If you're thinking to yourself right now, this 100% describes what I am doing, and that makes a lot of sense to me, then great. If you are thinking, I wonder how I can fit my project into what she's saying right now, then you may want to consider or reconsider applying. Just look for mission alignment. I'm trying to speak as plainly as possible. If it is aligned, then great, move forward. But this is a competitive grant cycle. We had 101 eligible applications last year and we made 23 grants. So just, if you feel like, oh, my organization is approaching that $150,000, budget limit, you may want to check in and say like, this is what we do, and this is what we're trying, this is our project, should I apply? We are here to help to save you time. We don't want anyone kind of applying that would be otherwise, wasting their time. Okay. I would just like to also add that we are making grants from $3,000 to $4,000. Last year, we did not make any grants under 3K. So while we may make some grants that are as low as 2,500, we try to give as much as possible. Okay. So you also might be asking yourself, well, where does the musical grant program funding come from? I think everybody should ask that question sometimes. Our funding comes from the Clarence E. Heller Foundation. They've been a generous supporter of the MGP since its inception. Other funders are individuals and generous family foundations that include the Mervyn Brenner Foundation, Fleischhacker Family Foundation, William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, Zellerbach Family Foundation, and the Phyllis C. Wattis Foundation, as well as Campbell Foundation. We are grateful for their support for this program. It doesn't make any money to give money away. So without their support, this doesn't exist. We work hard with our board to garner these funds each year so that we can make these awards in the best way that we can. So thank you for all of that support. Okay, let's get to the next slide. The Common App for the Arts. Okay. The MGP application is integrated into the Common App for your convenience. It means that, I've actually started just putting people on the very first step of planning their year is fill out the Common App. Figure out what programs you want to do and write about them. Just fill it out for each project that you're working on. Fill out the general operating. How do you present yourself? What is your budget? Once you have these things in place, it makes it so much easier to apply for opportunities as they come along. And the interesting thing about the Common App is that it is available year round. Most funders won't let you see their application until their cycle is open. So you have a limited window to even see what is the landscape looking for these days. The Common App cohort meets once a month. We are super active in advocating for grant seekers to spend as little time as possible to communicate as much as possible and as quickly as possible what they are passionate about doing so that we can find all of the grant seekers aligned with the grant makers that want to make their work happen. So that's where the Common App comes from. And I say that because I know that it's tricky to navigate and understand. We are working with a consultant right now, just for a little insight, to do a complete retrospect, like a study of how effective has it been in the last 3 years and what are our steps forward. I can't wait to share that with our community. So this year, it is no different than last year. Next year, maybe it's a little better. But one thing is for sure, if you are looking at any of the 9 funders and you are seeking for different types of funding and you want to apply to more than one grant opportunity other than the musical grant program, then I recommend going to the Common App first and using those questions to fill out your application for the musical grant program, for the Zellerbach Foundation, for Gerbode, who is funding this year, which they fund musicians every 3 years. So this is, it's a way for you to kind of get on the ball. Okay. Let us go to the next slide. Yes. So of these funders, I would say The Fleischacker, Capote, and Zellerbach are very much aligned with a lot of the people in this room. Some of you might actually fall into the Rainin category in theater or dance, and the same with Theater Bay Area. So if those things apply to you, then check them out. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have Mark share his screen and we are going to go to kind of navigating the digital workspace. The first thing we're going to do is go to the homepage of intermusicsf.org. This is what it looks like right now. And then what you would be doing, what everyone will do, is navigate to the musical grant program. Now, if you click right on the actual menu, can you click on the menu? It will take you to the overview page by default. So it's not broken, but you just have to actually be really careful with the mouse and go from the first item to the second item in the actual menu to get to the 2026 grant opportunity. And so the program overview is really for an external audience. This website is for grant seekers. So once you're here, you're going to want to navigate down. This year we have a complete scrolling view. It's all on one page. You will see the timeline. Important dates are particularly the deadline, March 20th at 11:59 p.m. I'd like to also point out the term, this term grant activity period. That means that is when the activities have to be done or when you are paying, more importantly, when your expenses actually occur. We've pushed the activity period to be an entire month sooner, so it's June 1st for this cycle. And you have 19 months to complete those activities. If you have already completed your activities and you've already paid for them, those expenses are not eligible. So this is only for upcoming expenses for an upcoming project during this window. Okay. The next tab is eligibility. If you were at the top, it would just take you to this part of the page. And this, I just want to like highlight a few things about eligibility. Small ensemble is defined at InterMusic as an ensemble with 1 to 25 members, which means that a soloist is also considered a small ensemble for us, and can apply. I also want to state that you can only apply with one application per cycle. So you have to choose the project that you're going to propose. And you cannot be funded in consecutive years. So if you were awarded last year, as of this year, you'd have to skip this year of funding. You also need to, if you have been funded in the past, you also need to be sure that you are in good standing with us, having submitted your final report for the grant that you received in 2024. Okay, great, perfect. So now we're going to kind of talk about eligible applicant types. We have small ensembles, which we've just defined. We have guest artists. That could mean someone who's from out of town. And they are working with a small ensemble, or a small ensemble and a composer, and you're working with a guest from out of town. Like all of that works. Composer and small ensemble, a presenter featuring small ensembles, and also arts and culture organizations that are uplifting small ensemble music in the way that we are. So any of that is good. Do we have any questions on eligibility so far? Like this is the who. This is the kind of applicant. And now we'll talk about, yes. Oh, can you hand her the microphone real quick? No, because your question is really good. Your question is really good. And we changed this a few years ago. I didn't mention it today, so I'm glad you're asking.
It it used to be that the um, small ensemble was defined as one player per part, and I'm just wondering if you can have, like if it's a string ensemble, can you have multiple players playing one part?
Yes. Yes, as long as it is 25 or less. Patrick, yes. Yeah, yeah, yep, that's fine.
Is a person from out of town always a guest, even if you work with them regularly?
No, that's a great question.
Okay.
Okay, so when we are talking about, that's great. So, the residency requirements is that the musicians need to live in one of the 9 Bay Area counties. Now, if you have an ensemble, it means that more than 50% of your ensemble lives in the Bay Area. So if you have 4 members, then 3 members live here. If you have 5 members, 3 members live here. Does that make sense? Also, if you have like one of these borderline circumstances where it's like 2 and 2. But they always play in the Bay and they moved out, moved from the Bay very recently or whatever. They come here all the time. Like just email us and we can help you navigate.
And if somebody was born and grew up in the Bay and then went to New York,
It's really like it's if they have a presence here. There are some folks who have a really big presence here or have a teaching thing where they're here for 4 months out of the year and they work with a otherwise Bay Area entity, then we would have borderline cases. We're people kind of navigating this and the mission is to uplift Bay Area artists. So if that falls in line, then it is fundable. It's yes.
Thank you. Does the ensemble member have to be always the same, or could it be flexible form?
Oh, flexible form is
I mean,
fine.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean we ask for the collaborators to be listed. That is your best guess. These are proposals. When something happens and if things change from what you proposed and what you're doing in the future with the grant, then you have to let us know. And this is the case for any grant that you are awarded from anyone. If you change the parameters of the proposal that you submitted and were awarded, you'd have to notify them of any changes. And usually it's understandable. It's life. um, but yeah, you just let someone know. You wouldn't have to like give back the funds or anything. Yeah, online. Yeah, let's check in online. Does anyone virtually have any
You
questions?
can either put it in the chat or I think we can hear you right now if you unmute. We got a raised hand from Margaret. Go ahead.
Hi there. I have a question about the history of public performance. If you've performed under a different like stage name or project name, is that an issue? And then I guess also, um, is there like a window if there was a lot of performance years ago and then it's kind of like coming back out of the cave now, is there a certain parameter for how many performances within like this recent time?
No, and we actually have an option to upload your CV. So if you want to list everything you've ever done, go ahead. An ability to do that.
Thank you.
I would say the most substantial thing is that like we would want to see the main, like there's usually a main, well, there has to be a main contact for the application. So if you're submitting a CV as the director of your entity or your project, you're producing it essentially and putting, choosing the artist and everything, that would be an appropriate place to upload your CV. It would not be appropriate to upload all of your members' CVs. That I don't think would speak to supporting we trust the kind of curation of the person who's applying.
Uh, yeah, go ahead, Jess. You can unmute.
Hi, are musician ensembles eligible regardless of tenure, like an emerging artist? Are they eligible?
100%. Yes. So what we're looking for, and this I will point out, we have kind of a study guide cheat sheet. What we're looking for is capacity. So that can be future. You have the you have the ability, you have some way of showing that you could take on a large project even if you haven't done it yet. So you don't necessarily have to have a track record. Does that make sense? Like
Like
if
some,
you've never produced an opera, but like you have all of this other musical experience and you really want to do this opera thing, um, then that would suffice. You don't have to have done that before.
got it. Like a proof of concept kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, they'll cover this more in the budgets workshop, but that's where the budget is going to really speak for you. Do you have a realistic idea of what you're actually proposing? Because your expenses are reflected in your budget. Okay. So the types of projects, what we actually fund, live performances and concerts, commissions of new work, professional studio recordings, presentation of short duration festivals, so not entire concert series. Um, and we also, I just want to say with professional studio recordings, we've seen this more and more, but people are in different stages of a long-term project. To say that you could write all of the music and get everyone in the studio and decide on all of your album work and mix and master and promote and release in 1 year is absolutely, absurd. So, choose a portion of the project that you're focusing on, and that could sometimes mean the production and release of a soon to be released record. Sure. So I'm just going to get through what we don't fund is entire seasons of concerts, events and activities that are closed to the general public. This really comes through in education and educational programming. And general operating expenses, and we will talk about that a little bit more as well. Fundraising, purchase of equipment, or debt reduction. These are really common.
So can you clarify on that? We have a question. What if the grant is for composing, rehearsing, recording, and performing a new piece of music as part of a larger program or series?
What is the question? It is eligible.
Yes. Okay. And then let me check here real quick. For professional recording, does that include pressing the actual copies? Would that be eligible for
Yes.
funding?
Yes, those expenses are included.
Okay, cool.
So it's not just artist fees, right? Okay. Okay. Let's go to the apply tab or the apply section. Once you've established that you are in fact eligible, then you can start the application process. Please make sure you are eligible. If you have doubts that you might not be eligible, don't just go ahead and submit, because we will get to a point and we'll just say like, oh, it's not like we can't move forward with this. And I would hate for you to waste the time. So just reach out to us. We have plenty of methods of getting in touch, and you'll get one of our one of our lovely folks on the phone, or on email. Okay, so when you go to the apply tab, you can go to number 2, which is application templates.
One more question real quick before we dive into this part.
Okay.
Can the project be in part a concert that is planned internationally?
That is a question to reach out to us about. So we would want to have more context for that question. That is cuspy. Yeah, great question. Okay. In this application templates, if you could scroll a little bit more, we have these different types of templates, and hopefully I'm not repeating myself later, but the Word doc is pretty simple. It will just download to your computer. This Google one is a Google template, so it will just copy and open a brand new Google document for you, and you can just start editing right there. And it's this, we just kind of figured like, if people are using Google anyway and they don't have MS Suite, then like maybe you just want to open it up. So it's the same for the project, the budget template, same situation. Yes.
Is the idea to choose one MGP and one project budget, or just one of the 4 of those templates?
So actually, can you scroll down a little bit more? These are all MGP templates, with the project template, the budget template is, this one here is a little bit different than the one that you're going to find on the Common App. It is tiny bit more specific for the MGP. You don't have to use these templates at all. Like, you don't have to use the project budget template. If you have your own budget and it's already written out, you use it for other funding opportunities, you can submit your budget template. If you don't have one and you want a starting place, this is the place to start. And then if you keep scrolling, you're going to find the Common App. Keep going down there. Keep going. Where is the Common App? Am I missing something?
Oh, they hadn't yet updated their version, so I did download it so you can see.
So we don't have that. We will have that tomorrow. You can go to the Common App website and get the Common App template, but we usually just include it on our website too. So there's going to be 2 applications. That's the big thing. That's the weird part. And these templates are not what you're submitting. They are just workspaces. They are word processing tools. And you will copy and paste from there. And sometimes that means actually copying and pasting. I'm thinking about it like 3 times. But the idea is that the Common App, you can use those questions, you fill that out, then you take those answers and you can either go right to a word force and paste them in and identify the questions that are very specific to the musical grant program or Flyshacker, and then go to those workspaces, or make your own, like you usually have to do for every other funder, and finish the application and drafting. I just really urge you to use a word processor platform to draft instead of going straight to any platform and working in there. It's really it's not the best practice. Best practice is to actually create a document and then copy and paste into a platform. That's just how it goes. We provide those templates for you. And then you can kind of reuse your answers. And that point I said at the end is really important. So the musical grant program application has a couple of questions that are not in the Common App and vice versa. So I would hate for anyone to get, in the 11th hour and you're copying and pasting and you're like, oh, there's a whole question with a 400 word count limit and I haven't written it yet. And my brain's like fried. Never been there. So I just suggest that, you really take the time to, on the MGP application, it will say which ones are a part of the common application. And so you can see very clearly which ones are specific to the MGP application. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Okay. Let's go to slide 12. We're going to do our acrobatics as far as sharing screens. This is kind of getting back to the recommended workflow. So your recommended workflow for the Common App in general is to first research the individual funder. We all have different missions. So we are not united on missions. We are not united on disciplines. And then you download the Common App, or in this case, you can download the Common App and the musical grant program template. And then you complete that. You register on the platform that they're receiving their applications through, and then you submit. There is a whole tutorial about this on our website that is just a technical assistance on the Common App. And it's hosted by Margot Melkin from the Zellerbach Foundation and myself. So you can find that right with our stuff. Okay. And then it's that easy. If you can go to the next. Okay, so this is what we just saw was all of these templates, and that's what's available on our site and how you get there. Now, I'd like to just kind of I'd like to kind of ask you all to access these templates yourself. So if you could, if you have the capability to right now, download at least the budget template. Yes. Yes, it's on the wall. And if you don't have access to that right now, what time do we have? We are so okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Anyone who can, let's do that now. I think I just started a workout here. My gosh. Yes. This is the workshop part of the workshop, is where you actually do something that's like a step in the right direction. It's breaking the ice.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
How do you all view applicants' formal knowledge of music theory? Is that weighted at all?
No.
Or what if, oh, okay.
Nope. And it's not genre specific, this opportunity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Great.
which one should we download, please?
I know, I love this. So download the MGP application and the project budget template. Those are two templates in whatever format is best for you, but you will now have a digital workspace for your application.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All of the questions that you will need to submit answers for the musical grant program are in the musical grant program template. If you need a budget template, it's also there for you. I love all of this confusing stuff. Most folks just have the platform and you have to go in and copy and paste all of the questions into a document and pray that you didn't miss one. Okay, everyone feeling good about this? Do we need more time or can we move on? We can do it. Okay, let's move on. Great. So the next step, just so you know, would be to go to AwardForce. We're going to do that in a little bit. But not before we leave our website. I just want to go to the last section that I wanted to highlight, which is application guidelines. And like I mentioned before, the application guidelines is section 5. And it is chock full. Keep going. Keep going. This is where you will find an explanation of every portion of the application. We unpack every question, tell you what we're looking for, explain what would be the best, make a really strong application or a competitive application. If you have questions, please go here first. I know that it's kind of buried, but it is really a trove. It's like how to ace the test. Can you scroll down a little bit? Part 1 is asking about if you're applying as an organization or an individual. I just wanted to have a quick discussion about this. You can apply as either. If you see yourself as an artist entity and you are an individual person, but you are really producing a lot of things and you have these groups under you that you're directing, that is an organization. If you have multiple entities that are making decisions about the direction or how you spend resources like time or money, then you're an organization. And I would approach the application that way. As an individual artist, if that's how you feel most comfortable, that's fine. These are kind of intertwined. They're the same thing, really. If you're the only person making all of the decisions, if this is really just your project and you're kind of selecting folks for this particular thing, apply as an individual for a project that you have a vision for. I think this idea of being an individual with a mission statement and all of the other things that we ask for is a little flawed. Try and think of it in both ways. If you're hitting a wall as an individual, try and answer those questions as an organization. If you're hitting a wall as an organization, try and answer it as an individual, if that makes sense. We really don't, there's no like plus or minus. It's really the way you feel most comfortable communicating about your work. Okay. Let's go to slide 14. We're going to dive into the budget. And like I said, there's going to be a budget meeting or a budget presentation. We'll go into lots more detail. Right now, we're just going to kind of cover the basics. And we're going to talk about some general operating versus direct project expenses. So this is a really big distinction because our grant program funds one of these, not both of them. Expenses are things that you need to do for whatever, XYZ. For our purposes, we're speaking exclusively about expenses that are incurred for musical activities. So you have musical activities all year, you have expenses all year. General operating expenses in street terms is overhead costs. These are a portion of your cell phone bill, equipment, repair, and maintenance, office supplies, bank fees, bookkeeping fees. They're also sometimes called indirect costs. They're actually called indirect costs on the budget template. So I just wanted to point that out. These are all different from, can you go to slide 15? These are different from direct project expenses. Direct expenses are things very specific to the project, like the artist fees or cartage, venue rental costs, graphic artist fees, and the list goes on. So this kind of leads me to our next term, which is our project budget. So these are funding sources and expenses, both of them, the in and the out, for specifically one project. You may say, you know, I'm trying to do some work on my project and I don't plan to be paid. I'm gonna kind of do a lot of the work for free. If the service that you or anyone else involved in your project is doing is specialized and necessary for the project, then you need to include this as an in-kind donation. And so an in-kind donation is also on the project template. And so I want you to just understand what those are. It is goods or services that are necessary, and they should be included to show the actual cost of your project. They should represent kind of the true value and expense of it. And it's not always, it should represent the fair market value or what you would reasonably pay for that good or service given the size of your project. It doesn't necessarily always represent the actual cost of the donation or service provided for free. Yes.
If you incurred expenses before the grant window, do you still show that in the budget?
So this is a question about scope. I think that if you are painting a picture where you are able to show scope of a project that is a 2-year project and you're going into year 2 or something, and you have all of those financials, you would want to still show year by year. So however you account for your fiscal year, most people who are not 501c3s are on the calendar year. So I would include expenses for a project that haven't been incurred for this calendar year. If you're going back further, then you need to separate them out by calendar year, which means that you'll show both the income and the expense in the same calendar year or whenever it was actually incurred, and they should. Does that make sense? Is that a no? That's a no. Okay. So if you're going back and you want to show a 2-year project, then you have to show all of the income. It's like how you would report on your taxes. So when you have income, it's taxable. And then you have these write-offs, which are all your expenses. So you'd have to include all of that information as it pertains to the project, line by line. And then you would show a budget, which is further. What else are you projecting in this calendar year, essentially, or the life term of this particular grant period? Our grant period happens to be extended because a lot of people kind of have extended timelines. And so we have a gap year. We allow for additional time. But in any other kind of normal foundation setting, you would have year by year or fiscal year by fiscal year. And you'd have to kind of break them out, and you'd be funded in those fiscal years as well. We don't break up our funding, we give it all at once, but you have an extra amount of time, an extra 7 months to complete your project. So when you're reporting, you're going to do this in the same way that you would your taxes. Okay. We're okay, great.
And
In-kind
again, if
donations.
there's any
Great.
specific questions as you're going, just email us, please. Mark at intermusicsf.org or MGP at intermusicsf.org. We'll have all the resources listed.
Great. And then I just want to go to the next slide for this in-kind. So this is an example of an in-kind donation. The Fantastic Flutist is submitting a project proposal to premiere a commissioned work. They're looking to serve food at the premiere, and thanks to a local caterer, they were given 1,000 oysters to serve free of charge. How do we include this as an in-kind donation on the budget? Well, the actual cost of this many oysters is $7,000. But they would only record Fantastic Flutist is only recording the absolute most that they would possibly budget for food for this particular event. So it's only about $300 that would be appropriate for a premiere concert, let's say in this case. And so in the in-kind income, you would actually say the oyster in-kind donation is fair market valued at $300. And you would put the expense on the other side as $300. You need these two things to be equal. If you're going to say like, oh, I gave my time and it was, $100 an hour for 15 hours, you have to also claim that as an expense on the other side, because you can't have income, you can't have non-cash in-kind donation of goods and services actually account for cash expenses. That doesn't work. Does that make sense? You do want to show that, hey, I gave 15 hours of my time and this whole thing wouldn't have actually been produced without that time. And so I want to show the world like, yeah, it does cost this much. And if you raise that money because your budget is that high, then you can pay yourself. So be honest about who is giving their time. It should be accounted for in your budget. It just also has to have it on the expense side. Okay. Are we good? Let's go to the next. Yes.
Reason the oysters are listed as 300 is because that matches the food budget.
Yeah, essentially, if you were to look at the total budget of the project and it's $3,000 and you're paying musicians, $500 each, you're not going to spend $7,000 on oysters. Like unless it all should make sense, right? Okay. Can you share the budget? Now that we have these kind of terms ironed out, we are going to look at the budget template. You can open your copy if you'd like to, for reference, or you can just look at the screen. And we'll just kind of fill in some values. So a couple of things to keep in mind is that you should include income and expenses. Sometimes we get budgets with just expenses. And so we need the income and the expenses to be balanced. You have to have a plan for covering all of the expenses for the activities. And this might be donated funds from you. It would go in individual donations if those are cash. So you might say, how do I'm applying for the musical grant program, and obviously I don't know if I've gotten it. Should I include it in my budget? You would include it on the musical grant program line, whatever you are actually requesting. And in the this column over here, the budget notes, column G, required, you would mark that as pending. So you'll have pending and secured funds. If you've already received some funding and it's covered some of those expenses that we were just talking about, you would want to say, yes, I've secured the funds. Or if you have you have some expenses that are coming, but you've been awarded by someone else or you've received donations, then you'd put them in as secured funds. And you just say in this box, I know it looks like a small box, but you can fit a lot in there. So just keep writing. These just write and write and write. Unpack the numbers. Blocks of numbers are no fun. We really love to see how you got to that number and what it represents. For individuals, this could be a crowdfunding campaign. You would want to use a projection if you haven't done it yet, based on what you've done in the past. So if you already had one and you raised, $1,700, but you didn't really try, be like, I can raise $2,500. I know it's, so it's a projection, and it's your best guess. If you the budget notes can be in prose, just sentences, and the more history you can offer, the better. On the institutions line, if you're planning to apply for other funders, that's where you would put that there. And then earned income are things like ticket sales. Yes, foundations and government. Sorry. I don't know why I said institutions. It's the same thing. And then the other earned income is not donated. So there's like donated funds and then actually earned funds that you are putting towards that your work has actually generated, that the project has generated. So it needs to be like album sales from the shows that you are planning to play, from the performance that you're planning to do, and you're going to have merch sold. Give a projection of how much you think that concert will make. Great. So let's say, okay, so this is great. I think that is what I wanted to say about budgets. Like I said, again, if you want to learn more about budgets and how they will be kind of looked at and how to structure them, February 25th. Do we have any remaining questions about budgets? Yes.
There's artist fees, and then there's guest artists.
Can you, yeah, there's this question is multiple facets.
If a project has multiple facets, like a commission, and then artist fees, and then guest artist fees, are you?
Are you saying that if it has a commission is considered an expense?
I guess I'm asking, should I apply for the musical grant program for one of those facets or all of the above and listed on the budget?
That is a great question. So a lot of what we're looking at when we look at budgets is if, first of all, if the MGP is the only funder, will this actually happen? So if we're going in and you're requesting $3,000 for your project, and we're the only one funding it, and the expenses
It's okay. I can stop.
are right up to the brim, right? Or you have, like, let's say, let me try and say this another way. Let me think about how I want to say this. If MGP is like most of it, and you have $500 that are coming from somewhere else, and like if we were to fund you at $2,700, would it still happen? That's one thing that we're looking at. A lot of times, and I've said this before, and I know that it's been controversial in the past, but a lot of times funders want to go to the table knowing they're not the only funder. So if there are multiple people at the table, and multiple kind of ways, funding streams, then it's very likely that during the lifetime of this funding, and the proposed amount of time that you said that it was going to take you, if there are bumps along the way, it's likely that you will make it through, that this project will happen no matter what. If we're the only funder and you hit bumps along the way, will it happen? That's a big risk, you know? So that's kind of, if you can show like we have a track record of doing these other things, we always, you know, we have a partnership with the University of the Pacific, and we partner with them, and we have these we give workshops, and it goes towards partially funding a concert. That is a really sure revenue stream, that if we go in and we're the largest funder, but your other revenue stream is really reliable, then this is likely to happen.
Go ahead, Jess. You've had your hand up for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what I was trying, one second. So what I was trying to say is that you want to include the full activities to produce the project and all of the ways in which you're going to pay for them. Because if you're showing in your budget only the things that we would be funding, then how do we know what the other, that's the whole part of, will the project happen, and how many possible, you know, how many potential, what is the likelihood that it won't actually come to fruition, is veiled. And so that is a definite no. That is a very poor case that you're making for your proposal. Anything that you have in your proposal, you have to show that you are paying, like you are aware that it costs money to do it, and this is how you plan to pay for it.
Yeah, and also, isn't it true, like in the narrative of the actual proposal, you'll talk about the entire scope of the project, but here you're just showing that MGP is just part of what's funding it, and what all of the expenses are right here. It's going to be balanced down there no matter what. You're going to show all of your expenses. In the narrative, you talk about all the facets about what the parent project is. I think that's the way I understand it, at least. But
So if you're particularly looking at it like, with this funding, I can commission a new work, but this concert is happening no matter what, because we usually have ticket sales and it pays for these performers. And so MGP would allow us to have this commission. Then you could even write it in like that. You could show it as an underwriting thing. Like this is how the grant would have an outsized impact on the project. Like it would augment a project that's already happening.
we have a couple more.
Go ahead. Yep.
Jess Ramirez,
Yep.
go ahead.
If you are putting on a first solo performance, what is a good way to kind of reference your projected income from those ticket sales, and for it to not look inflated, if that makes any sense?
I mean, I would be honest with yourself. How many tickets do you think you can sell at a price? Can you get 20 people to a concert, and maybe there's an expense, a cut to the house? What are you left with, and what seems reasonable? I think we all go to concerts here, and so I think we know what ticket prices are and what the likelihood is of programming. I would, if you're not, I would look at some publications and marketing materials of what is happening around town and where, or maybe the venue that you're thinking of presenting at. How many seats does it have? How many people usually attend a concert there and get a sense of, what the community is like, and how much, our tickets usually by donation only. Are they $150 each? So you can gauge, I think you can gauge a lot from who your presenter is, if you're working with one, working with the venue, and a knowledge of your community base. Chris.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a percentage balance that is optimal for the MGP portion of the project? Example, if the MGP would account for 75% or 80% of the funding, are you looking for 50-50?
That's a really good question. So I think that industry standard is really different from the musical grant program. I think that what we're looking to do is uplift artists who are active. And so if this program is going to enable that to happen, we want to support it. And we'll do as much as we can. Sometimes we see something that's emerging, and we are just eking out another couple $1,000s to make it happen. And we might reach out to an applicant and say, if you got this much, could you make it happen? And sometimes they say no. I don't have the confidence. And then I say, you can absolutely raise that money. Let's do it together. And we work on a campaign and we get over the line. So, there's some flexibility to these questions because of the nature of what we're trying to offer an equitable funding source. And so that means like maybe you don't have a track record or we're the only funder. We take the project, we take it all into consideration, your history, all of the questions. This is when your proposal becomes really important. I know that's really not clear, but I would definitely also take a look at our funded artists list. I think we have over 10 years of projects on our website that you can look at and see descriptions of who they are and what they were doing and when they got funded. I think Chris had a question, Mark. And then we're going to go into work samples, I think.
I'm not sure how much this fits into the thing, but with my ensemble, we get invited to play on series, and the income we get is from playing on these series, and we don't sell tickets and things like that. So I'm not quite sure how to fill that in.
Oh, so you have like a guarantee. Yep. So I would just say we have a history of working with this presenter, and we project X amount in income as a guarantee, and say, blah, 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 presented by blah, blah, and parentheses, partners in years, and then X amount for guarantee artist fee. And I would put it under tickets. And you can always change the names of these lines or add ones that better fit your, this is just kind of a starting place. And it's also very, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it kind of ties into a 990, and that's why they're categorized this way. It all goes back to taxes. Okay, let's go to work samples, slide 19. You can provide up to 3 work samples totaling 5 minutes of material. You can provide them using online links, which is, to media, to either music or video, which is preferred. You can also upload JPEGs or PDFs, depending on what makes the most amount of sense for your project. That might mean a score. A score doesn't actually need we recommend having a recording of a score if you're going to provide it. That's really helpful. But if you have a MIDI realization or you have a graphic score that hasn't been realized, it really think about what is the best kind of representation of your work and what we should expect from the project. What you have, along the same lines. And we encourage you to use work sample notes to describe the samples. You can have start times, you can have 5 different recordings and just choose the minutes you want us to listen to. It's actually a really big hack because people sometimes just forget to turn it off. So you end up listening to the whole thing. But if you only specify 1 minute, then somebody listened to the whole thing. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. It's a total of 5 minutes. So the question was, is it 5 minutes? Is the limit 5 minutes per sample, or is it 5 minutes total? And it's 5 minutes total. Okay, we're going to go into the award force section.
Okay, so we'll go through these slides and then I'm going to very quickly do a screen share on just going through. There's a couple of things after you filled out your proposals with the templates, making sure that you submit the application in our grants management system correctly is very important. And often there's like one little loop that I wanted to point out in particular. So let's go through these. You'll first create a login, and I'll show you about starting the application, making sure that you're in the correct category and round, because we have 2 other categories and rounds up right now. Saving your progress, and then the most important thing is taking away from right now is accessing your saved application after you've logged out. And then submitting once you're complete is pretty easy. These are the URLs. This whole slide deck and the video of this workshop will be live tomorrow afternoon on our YouTube site and on our website. So these are some screenshots of what it looks like when you go to the portal. After you register, as it shows over here on the left side, then you'll go down here, Musical Grant Program 2026. This is where you're going to enter. Go ahead. Here, if you get to a spot where you're not quite done or you need to step away for a little bit, you can say save and close, and you can log out, not worrying about a thing. And when you log back in, this is what's important. You'll see this screen, and I'll show you this live as well. You have 2 good options. One up here that says enter, then you have a little house. Don't go to that because that's going to bring you to the home page, and you're going to start a new application if you enter there. So go to either entries or enter, and then it'll show you my entries, and you'll see what you've already started. And that's the one that you click on to keep editing it. Last year and also this year with some of the fiscal sponsorship stuff, I've had a few emails where people are like, dude, I just filled out this whole thing and it's all gone. What have you done with my time? And so it's still there. And if you have any questions, email me, but this is always the issue.
And you have a technical assistance video that's on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I made a fresh one that's basically doing exactly this. And then when you're done, you can submit. So let's see here. I'm gonna do like a quick demonstration of that in real time. All right, so I've logged in, and this is the screen that you see, right? This talks about our programs. You go down to the bottom, and you would click here, Musical Grant Program 2026, enter. And you can see this is starting a new application here, right? So I've done that multiple times. I'm going to go ahead and go to my entries. And here are my saved entries, right? So I'm going to go to the one that I've been working on. It's called MGP demo. And I'm working on it. Saving next. Going, and save and close. And then when I'm feeling like if I go home, just because this is what you're going to see when you log in, just make sure you don't go here yet again. You can go to the enter right here or your entries when it shows up after you've logged in. Your entries, and now this is the one that I finished, demo submission, right? Now I'm ready to go, I believe. Whoop. It'll flag it if you haven't finished something. I'm not sure what I didn't do correctly. Well, anyway, when this is all correct, submitting will be very easy. And obviously, it's doing its job because I didn't put everything in there that I was supposed to. But I just wanted to make it clear if you go to the Home tab, you're going to start a new application and not see the work that you've done. But you can go to Enter or Entries right here. And this is where you're going to see the work that you've already done. Alrighty.
That was such good piecing, Mark. You talk faster than I do. Yes.
Document, a separate document on your computer with all of the info or whatever, because if anything happens to your computer, you have to switch computers, which has happened to me. You have to, I had to rewrite,
Oh.
yeah, but I synced the document separately from the website.
Can you repeat that for us?
Yeah, Chris, you were saying that you recommend a hard copy or just multiple, like saving the template copy in multiple platforms.
Their version of Word.
Uh-huh.
I keep on a separate thing. In fact, I keep it as a draft copy.
Okay, so backups of the templates that you're working on are very important. So it's not just in the submission platform that you can lose your work. It's also on your machine too. So keep it backed up, which is great advice. And then let's see here. We have, does it save automatically? I don't believe so. And then for anyone who's having technical questions, I'm getting something. Please advise on why it's asking me to register when I'm logged in on that page. Please email me. That's an affiliate specific question, and we can go through what's going on with that tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what the issue would be there.
Okay. I'd like to go to just slide 27 real quick. I wanted to talk a little bit about the review panel, just so you're aware of what happens after you submit and go through this awesome process. The applications are reviewed by an independent panel, which means that they are not staff or board members, which is why I love hearing about your projects and gushing about them, because we do not vote on those or have any kind of weighted review. We've engaged 4 panelists, and these are experts in the field. They represent a diverse musical background. They're from all kinds of genres. They are anonymous because we have a very small and kind of intimate community. And so we keep those confidential. and the decisions can't be contested. And the announcement is made in mid, this says 25, but it's actually the beginning of May of this year, which is why we have a June 1st activity period, because we will be dispersing funds sooner than last year. Okay, let's go to the next one. So some of the resources that we have available are a scoring rubric, so you can see how folks will be discussing and use the language that they'll use to review and evaluate. We have an FAQ, which is on our website, and also like the section 5, the study guide. We have a Common App webinar, which is the smaller, the webinets video, and then that's the technical assistance video. And then we did have other members of the Common App give a workshop 2 years ago. That's also on our webpage and available. And we have last year's MGP workshop video, and we will have this one, like Mark just said, available tomorrow afternoon. There's also guidelines, and we are your resource, I suppose. We are resources for you. I'm just going to quickly say this demographic data, if you choose to fill in the demographic data, we separate that from your application. It's only viewed in an aggregated way. We are using that with the Common App cohort to kind of have a better sense of who we're serving. We're trying to identify gaps in the communities that we are not reaching. This only helps us kind of have a better picture of what our program is doing in the community or who it's impacting. And so the more data we have, the better idea we have about our community. So I urge you to please consider filling that out. And then finally, oh, sorry, keep going. Actually, I will kind of say a little bit about that. So you can only fill out the demographic data for you yourself. So your ensemble mates, if we after projects have been awarded, we do have a way of gathering additional demographic data on ensemble members, but it has to be self-identified. And so individuals need to really submit those surveys. And so you won't actually hear much about that until you're funded. And then we'll talk more about what that looks like. The participation survey, we are going to send a survey. Please fill it out. Let us know what you thought. We're always trying to do more with this program. It's someplace that we are kind of digging in and investing pretty wholeheartedly. And I do hope if you were here today, you'll consider going to the other 2 workshops that are supporting the musical grant program and your efforts as grant seekers. With that, I would love to open for any additional questions. Wow. Okay. We have 3 minutes to spare. Well, fantastic. Great. I'm just gonna, Mark, can you turn the video so everybody in virtual land can see everybody else? Can you just show, and yeah. And if you all want to turn on your stuff, then we can all see you. Oh, so many great folks. It's really great to see you here. Thanks again for your patience. I know it seems dry, but I love this stuff. Okay, that is all. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Woo! Oh my goodness, so many words. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, you got some